Hello and welcome to this next episode of Artful Loving. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about love in the village. How can we bring back a sense of community into relationships, family, and just the experiences of being a human being in this world? So stick around. Hi there, I'm Nick Tovey, relationships and intimacy counsellor, educator, and author of the book The Revolutionary Man, which you can get on Amazon. And if you're new to the channel, please go ahead, subscribe, click the like button and the notification bell and all of the buttons so you can give this channel the boost it needs to get to as many faces and ears and eyes and lives and relationships as possible. And if you want to learn a little bit more about me and my work, head to my website nicktovey.com. And if you want to inquire as to how we can work together, either on a one-on-one basis or as a couple, then just shoot me an email through the website. So something I'm really finding important at this moment that I want to talk about in today's episode is how important it is for us as individuals, but also as a couple, to have a community around us that can offer a level of support and all of the other aspects of life that we need as human beings. In our modern relationship style that we've inherited, that we see as the norm, that is definitely sold to us by our media, our movies and Hollywood, really it puts a lot of pressure on the relationship and each partner in the relationship to be everything for the other partner. You know, we expect our partners to be our lovers, our best friends, our business partners, our housemates, our therapists, you know, so many different aspects of life. We put this responsibility and this pressure onto each other to provide that. And it's just too much. It's just not a sustainable relationship model. And so it ends up breaking down. We end up disappointed in our partner for not being what we want them to be, because of course that's just too much to expect from them. We can't expect them to have all of those hats on and to provide for us in all of those different ways. When you look at how relationships have been done throughout history and still are in certain cultures around the world, they're very much done in community. And of course, when this is especially true when we're talking about family and bringing children into the world, which is something I'm very much alive for me at the moment, as we're literally 2 weeks away from the due date of our baby coming. And so I'm very much aware of the need for community in my life and in our life as a couple as we bring this child into the world. It's very clear to see that the model of the nuclear family, it just is problematic. It brings a lot of challenges to those people and to that family, which are really unnecessary. When you, like I said, when you think of how family and relationships have been done in history, we don't do it all behind closed doors, in the closed off barriers of our picket fences. You know, it's not that. Life is very much shared in a community. If there's something we need, we know we've got someone we can ask for it. I think our modern civilization, and I put that in speech marks because is it really civilization? Yeah, and I think we can easily get persuaded that this is the right way to go, and I think that's exactly what's happened over the last 50 to 100 years or so. You know, is this idea that we need to come together as this nuclear family and in the process create walls around us and separate us from the rest of the community, from our neighbors, from the people around us. And it, it causes this sense of separation and isolation, and what it then does is put a lot of pressure onto these people, and we feel like we don't have the people around us that we can seek support from. And it may not necessarily mean that we're in crisis or that there's a massive problem that we need some help with, but just in the fact that, asking for, the old going next door for a cup of sugar sort of thing, that doesn't happen very much these days. We're all very isolated. So for me personally, this is something very, very true to my heart right now, and my partner Stephanie and I, as I said, we're 2 weeks away from due date of our baby, and we've always known on the outset, when we were first having conversations around having a child together, one of the things that were really important for us is that we had community around us. We have people around us that we can seek support, seek a bit of help, and of course share resources between us as a family. Very, very important. And so we're at this point now where this is becoming very, very necessary for us, as we move into, being very close to birth. Stephanie's heavily pregnant. There's not a lot she can do as far as, being out in the world and doing activities and chores and such. And so it's good to have those people on board and say, hey, could you just help me with this or help us with that? And we're very fortunate in the fact that we do have people around. We do have this community, and it's also something we've been intent on creating for ourselves. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to have. Just this weekend past, we had a baby blessing experience where a bunch of friends came and they pampered us, and the men went off and did their thing, the women stayed at home and did their thing, and there was this moment where the men and women were separate, doing very beautiful, sacred experiences together. Me and the other men sitting in brotherhood and sharing the experiences of fatherhood and what our relationships were like with our fathers and such. And for me, what was really important in that was just feeling a sense of, I've got brothers around me that are there for me if I need them. And something that is very obvious to me at this point as we're getting closer to the birth and all of this period through the pregnancy, is that there's a lot of emphasis put on the mother and the birth and all of the experience that she's going through, which of course is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And of course there's challenges that I go through as well, and there's anxieties that come up for me in this process, and so it's been really, really important for me to know that I've got support on hand. I've got people I can go to, because my partner's not as available to me as she maybe usually is, because she's going through a pretty enormous thing, and so it's really, really good for me. It feels good. It feels like a place where I can lean into and lean on this experience of having brothers around me and friends around me who can support me. Really, really, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and such a relief. And I know I'm noticing and coming up against these parts in myself that find it really difficult to receive that and to accept that sort of help. In part of my nature and part of my adaptive development through my life is creating a really strong sense of autonomy, and to the point where I'm a bit of a lone wolf in a lot of ways, and I'd like to have my own shit together for my own self and not give a lot of trust in other people. And so it's difficult for me to allow that to happen and to let other people support me and help me in that way. I do come up against some stuff in that, but I also know how fucking important it is for me to have that, because I know how I'm pretty well resourced in my own emotional insight and my own emotional intelligence and my practices that I do to take care of myself. And there are, of course, some times where I just don't have it all together, and so it's really good for me knowing that I've got somebody who I can go to and talk to. Another thing that's been really important, and that I see as a really crucial element of relationship, whether you've got kids or not, is having other couples that we can have around us to if there's something going on in the relationship, we can go to another couple and talk about it and share the struggles of relationship, because it's not always easy, and of course shit comes up. We have challenges to deal with in the relationship, and so it's important that we've got other people and other couples that are going through a similar they're on the journey as well. They've gone on the journey of coupledom, and they're probably going through similar things, or at least being able to relate to what you're going through. So it's really, really crucial to be able to have that level of support. A really important thing is that that's not just a person to go to bitch to. Of course, we want to be able to talk openly about some of the experiences that we're having and what the other partner's doing and blah, blah, blah. But bitching about what the other partner's doing is pointless. It doesn't get us anywhere. What we need to do is have a solution-focused orientation, and also a sense of ownership and responsibility for our own part in any of the challenges. If we're just blaming this other person and pointing the finger on our partner and having a bitch fest with our friends, that's not very useful. We're not getting a great deal of benefit from that. And so I think it's important, when we do have those friends and those people that we can go to for that level of support, we're not just going in for a bitch fest. That's just not useful. Doesn't get us anywhere. There's no doubt that we are communal beings. We need other people around us. We do much better when we have other people around us. And of course, a lot of us, like I was describing about some of my own adaptations, we learn to not trust other people, and maybe we've had circumstances that have led us to create that sense of distrust with people in the world. So we keep all of our cards held tightly to our chest, and we create walls of protection around us and keep ourselves separate from other people. And of course, it makes sense sometimes why we would do such things, because having connection, having closeness, having a sense of intimacy with other people is vulnerable, and so we can get hurt, we can get let down, we can be betrayed, we can sometimes be, of course, abused. If that's been our experience, it's quite likely we're going to be very protected, very guarded. And so what we also know is that, even though we can understand that that's a really important way of keeping ourselves safe, creating those protection mechanisms, sometimes those protection mechanisms turn into a prison and a cage that we've put ourselves in, and we're holding the key to our own cage, and we become our own jailer, as if you like. It's important to see it that way, and recognize that yes, there's a cage. I don't feel this sense of freedom, but I've put myself in there, and I'm holding the key, and I'm also my own jailer. So sometimes it's like we even create a relationship of Stockholm syndrome relationship between us and our own jailer, who is also us. So it's like we support our need for being safe even in this cage, even though it's a cage. It prevents our freedom, it clips our wings, and we can't expand beyond that. What else it does for us, this cage, is keep us separate, keep us isolated from other people. And so it's important to recognize the bars of this cage and do what we can to open them and to take down these walls so we can let other people in, have these experiences of beautiful human connection, and get the level of support that we need. Yeah, I think it's a very common experience, and I've seen this a lot in couples that I've worked with. I've seen it a lot in friendships that I've observed. I've also seen it a lot in my own self and my own experiences, where women tend to be a little more they're better at creating community. They're a bit better generally. Of course, there's always exceptions to any rule. But generally, women are much better at creating connections with other people, and so they're a bit more communal and a bit more able to communicate freely and create and maintain friendships. A lot of the time, the guys aren't that good at doing it. They might hold a couple of friends that they might see, maybe every now and then, once a month or once a year even, And so a lot of emphasis is put on the relationship to provide the sense of intimacy and connection, and in the process letting go of a lot of friendships and connections that we have outside of the relationship. It's not a good recipe for health and vitality, and it's definitely too much to put on the relationship, because what happens when and if that relationship doesn't continue? Yeah, all of a sudden we're lonely. This is a very common complaint I see in a lot of men, particularly later in life, that they're very lonely and isolated and don't have many friends around them to offer that level of support. So guys, this is really, really important. We need people around us, particularly good male friends, good males and brothers that we can hang with, that we can be with, and to relieve your partner of some of the pressure of being everything for you. It's really, really important. You don't want your partner to be everything for you, because it's disempowering for you, and it puts a lot of pressure on that other person, which of course doesn't work. So we need to branch out. We need to go and find our people, find our community as an individual as well as a couple, and like I said, create connections in the village. So we've got support on hand, we've got people on hand who we can reach out to if we need a little helping hand, and of course we can be that for them. Really, really important. I had a beautiful experience just a few days ago where one of the women in my community, she was having some trouble and struggling, having a bad day, and she just needed someone to go and hang out with her 8-year-old son while he was playing with his friend, and during the school holidays. And so I was free. I put my hand up and went and helped her in this moment. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to do, and it was like, yeah, this is it. This is the village. So it's really, really important. So just have a look at your own life and your own connections. Have you got people around that you could just spend that little bit more time with and make that extra effort to reach out to and just have a chat? Once upon a time we used to pick up a phone and dial numbers in to have a conversation with people. When was the last time you actually had a conversation with people just for the purpose of having a conversation? Yeah, not to arrange something, not to get something done, not because it's their birthday or a special occasion, but just because we feel like having a conversation. It's almost a dying art, the art of conversation. It's a real problem I see in our modern world when we're just texting. It's great that we can. These phones are amazing that we can talk via video to somebody over the world, and it's instantaneous. And it's absolutely amazing. And we need to just have chats. We need real human connection. So Who are the people that you want to be closer to, that you regard highly in your relationships, and who are the couples that you can look to for an example of people that are doing relationship quite well, or at least you perceive. Of course, every relationship has its problems, but who can you come together with and have a chat about the challenges you're having in relationship, or just create a broader network of connections to the point where we can be a village and really boost and establish community living. It's so crucial for us and really, really important, and is a dying experience for a lot of people these days. Anyway, if you found this useful, I'd love you to give me a thumbs up, give me a like. If you've got any questions or experiences you want to share with me, put it in the comments below. I'd really love some interaction with you. And of course, if this is useful, you think it'd be useful to other people, share it with your friends and your loved ones, your partners. And of course, subscribe. All right, until the next time, you take care and keep loving.